Hi, my name's Sarah. This is my week 4 portfolio entry, the video entry. So I'm just going to discuss my placement and everything I did. So I did a SPP placement at Fremantle Hospital for 4 weeks. The project I was given was to discuss the overuse of PPIs in Fremantle Hospital and the impact it may have on the patient in terms of Clostridium difficile and iron deficiency anemia. The SPP was really a great experience for me. I was in the hospital. I learned so much doing the placement. Before I came, I'd never really worked in a hospital before, and I know I wasn't really, even though I wasn't really working as a pharmacist or as a student in the hospital, I did actually gain quite a big insight into what clinical pharmacists do. I was situated in an office with about 6 other clinical pharmacists, and so I saw what they did before they went on rounds, when they came back from rounds, and I listened to all their conversations about their patients and their admissions, and it really showed me how much knowledge they have and the different kind of knowledge they have compared to community pharmacists, and it was really interesting. I also got to communicate a lot with other healthcare professionals. I also got to talk to a lot of interns and other pharmacy students and see how they're going, how they like it, did they like that they chose hospital, and so that was also really good to speak to people who are more like me. Every day I went up to the wards, looked through patient files, patient medical charts, navigated my way through the hospital, went up to all the different wards. So in hindsight, it really was quite a true clinical placement in the hospital, because I did get to see everything. I got to see what doctors do, what nurses do, what physios, OTs do. So it's not just all about your project, you really do get a full insight into what hospital is like. It was also great being part of such a big team. I mean, hospital pharmacies, there's so many people working in them, and being part of a team that's so big and meeting so many different people that do different things in the pharmacy, like the sterile bit and the technician bit, and there's so many different elements to make that pharmacy a functional place that it's really interesting to see. It's so different to a community pharmacy. And I'm really excited now that I've chosen to do my internship at a hospital and been accepted, because at first I queried it a bit because I'd never worked in a hospital, and now I'm really excited about it. Medicine has always been a really big dream of mine, and I feel like being a clinical pharmacist takes me one step closer to this dream. Being on this placement, I also got to see what doctors do in everyday life and see how they communicate with other healthcare professionals, and made me really realise that it's something that I want to do. I also spoke to lots of pharmacists who are studying med at the moment. There's probably about 4 in the department, and I spoke to them about the workload and also working at the same time, and was it the right choice, and they all love it so much, and they gave me great tips and words of advice. So I'm now really considering it as well, and I don't think this would have happened unless I'd worked in this placement. So it's something I really learned about myself and about my future as a pharmacist or even as a doctor. I also really learned something about myself that I never really knew, was that I need to be a bit more outspoken when there's so many different faces and different people around. I know that I am not a shy person, but when you're a new face in a place, it's really up to you to go up to people, introduce yourself, tell them who you are and what you're doing, and it's important to make long, good, lasting first impressions with these people, because chances are you could be working with them in the future, whether it be in this hospital or in another place, somewhere further down the track. Although saying this, I know I did make some really good connections and really good friends when I was there. Everyone was so lovely, and everyone made my time such a pleasure there, and I wouldn't be nervous about being, thrown into a new situation, because they've all been there and they understand, and everyone's really lovely. So if you're concerned, if that's something that you'd be concerned about doing an SPP, I wouldn't worry about that. There wasn't really much I probably could have known before I came here. I spoke to my preceptors before I came, had a meeting with them, and they told me what I'd be doing, where I'd be doing it, and how I'd be conducting everything. But really, you have to learn on the job. You have to go up to the wards and know how long things are going to take you, and you have to go up, do the research yourself, and see how long that's going to take you. And really, there's nothing really more they could have told me in the 5-minute meeting that I had with them. So there's not really much I wish I could have known before I started. Maybe other than the fact that maybe how much I was going to be by myself, doing everything, but that didn't really cause me any problems anyway, so it doesn't really matter. If I could do it again, the only thing I would change is getting on top of my portfolio entries a bit sooner in the week. I'm working Monday to Friday, it's 5 days a week, also working Saturday in a community pharmacy just so I can have some sort of salary. And Sunday's your only day off, and it's just not something you want to be doing, is trying to finish your portfolio entries in the one day you have off a week. So I would say get on top of them as much as you can at the beginning of the week, do the activities as they come up, reflect as they come up, and do your standards when you can. It is important to do your portfolio entries properly, so don't rush them, but I found that even like when I had an hour at the end of the day, I would quickly type up a rough draft of one and then finish it off later. Or in my Friday, when I had my 4 hours of workbook time, I would also do it then. So you do have a lot of time to do it, but try definitely hand them in by Friday, because you don't want to be doing it after that. This experience was an extremely positive one for me. Working here and doing something a bit more specialised. Although it wasn't extremely specialised, like say some of the other people who do manufacturing or doing compounding in sterile places, it was specialised in the sense that I learnt so much in the subject area that I was studying. I've been an expert in PPIs now and how much they're used, and also I became really familiar with medical charts and how they're laid out and what pharmacists write on them and why they write things on them and how medical files are set out and what the past admissions look like and where I can find discharge summaries and where I can find lab tests and blood results. And I learnt all that, and that's something that will be a huge benefit to me in the future when I work in hospital, because I'm already familiar with it. And even though I'm working in a different hospital next year, it's still a huge benefit knowing everything and having a little bit of a head start. I also found a really positive bit about the experience was it was so self-directed. You have to be committed to your work, and you have to want to do your project, and you have to want to succeed. Otherwise, there's no point doing this SPP. It's so self-directed. You do everything by yourself. You go up to the wards by yourself. You look through charts by yourself. You navigate yourself around the hospital by yourself. There's always people there to help you and give you advice and tell you where to go. But really, if you can do it all yourself, it's so much more beneficial, and you become a bit more independent as a person and more confident as a person. So if you are thinking about doing this placement, only do it if you're the kind of person that knows that can do more self-directed learning, because some people, it's not really for them. They need more direction from supervisors, and you don't really get that with this. You'd really do everything on your own, and in the end, it's so much more rewarding. I did a presentation to about 25 clinical pharmacists about my project at the end, and it was a really rewarding experience because I'd done it all from scratch. I'd created the project myself. I'd done all the data collection sheets myself, done all the research, put it all together, put all my findings together, and had something to present at all the end of it. And they all said that they were really interested in it and they were surprised with my results. So that's always a huge positive. So it is hard work, and you're working every day and you're doing your project every day, and you have to really be putting everything you have into it to make it worth your while. But in the end, you do really get the reward that you should for all the work that you've done. Towards the end of my placement, because I did my presentation on Tuesday, I didn't really have much more to do. I did redo my presentation for the Curtin students, and I did finish off my portfolio entries, but I still didn't really have much to do. So I finished off my CPD points, and then some of the pharmacists offered to take me up to the wards. So I went up with a few different pharmacists, and it was really interesting to see the different wards. I went to like a fast moving medical ward where it was just short stay, and so I got to do quite a few admissions. I got to interview some patients, ask them about their medications, call pharmacies. I also got to see how wards operate in more detail, so go see where they keep their medications and what the pharmacist actually does when they talk to a patient and all the different things that a pharmacist does in everyday life. I also just got to go to another general ward and then an oncology ward, so they're all so different and all the medications are different and what the pharmacists look for is all different. So that was a really beneficial. I got to really have like a little mini hospital placement of my own. Even though I didn't get to work in the dispensary or a sterile, I still got to do ward rounds, which was really interesting. I even got to speak to a couple of doctors, and they showed me some x-rays and some really cool things with the heart, and it was all really rewarding in the end. So I really highly recommend this experience to anyone who's thinking about doing it. Just throw yourself out there. It's only 4 weeks. You really do gain a lot of knowledge.